Well, these are definitely the two biggest repairs we've ever made to our RV, and definitely the longest we've ever been stationary in 2.5 years of full-time RV life. If you're looking for information on how to replace a broken RV axle or how to repair a crack in your RV frame, well, unfortunately for us, but fortunately for you, you've come to the right place. And over the last month, we've actually repaired both of those issues, and the best part is we never even had to take it to an RV repair shop. And as full-timers, we can't really be without our home on wheels, so stick around to see how we made both of those repairs without ever leaving our spot right here at our RV park in Greenville. If it's not one thing, it's another.
And this time, it's a pretty big thing.
RV life, y'all, is not always rainbows and sunshine. We were just about to hit the road on our next adventure, and thank God we hadn't completely left the property yet, because we stopped to talk to the owner, and I looked back, and our tire, show him what it was doing.
This?
Yes, and that is not good.
Turns out, one of our axles is pretty much completely ruined. Now thankfully our RV park owner Wayne was having his boat looked at by a mechanic, and he was nice enough to come over, jack our RV up and take a look and pretty much figure out that it is unrepairable. As you can see, our axle is actually bent, and we already knew that it was a little bit bent whenever somebody replaced our tires, but they advised us that it was actually cheaper to keep replacing tires every once in a while rather than replace the whole axle. Well, it turns out that might have been bad advice, and this could have turned out very badly if we had discovered this on the road and maybe the tire blew or the brakes wouldn't work, so I'm really glad that we figured it out now. Our axle is so bent, in fact, that he wasn't able to get the tire back on, so in the meantime, they jerry-rigged this together and actually have the chain holding up the axle on this side, and it worked. Pieces of our axle and stuff were actually falling out when he was taking it apart. It was bad.
We need to order a brand new axle, and Mike, the mechanic that was on site, is gonna be a nice enough guy to come back and install it for us. So I guess we'll keep you updated, but I know that our current plans are completely ruined, so I guess we'll see what happens this weekend.
On to plan B.
Let me first start by saying we actually feel extremely fortunate that we noticed this problem before we left the RV park and got on the road amongst other vehicles, because that could have honestly been a very terrible situation. While we do regular tire checks when it comes to air pressure before traveling, this wasn't something that was noticeable until the vehicle was actually moving. Now let's get to why we believe that the RV axle was damaged in the first place. Like a lot of RVers out there, we do try and get off-grid away from RV parks as frequently as possible, but sometimes that can be a lot of wear and tear on your RV. We believe that our damage actually happened the rough terrain getting out to our boondocking location in Sedona, Arizona. We hit some pretty rough patches out there, and our advice always is to take your time getting to where you're going, especially in those situations. And we did our best, but I do believe that that is where the tip of the axle that connects to the tire actually originally got bent. Here's how we know that the axle was actually bent, because on our way up to Oregon last summer, both of the tires on that axle had to be replaced on our journey up there. When we went to an RV maintenance shop, he looked at it and actually gave some pretty bad advice. We won't mention the shop, but told us that it was actually easier to just replace the tires than it would be to replace the axle in terms of cost. We asked him if that was safe. He said yes. It turns out it definitely was not. We're not RV experts. We are constantly learning as we go. So we took the experts' advice. After some time and a lot of miles on the road, the damage actually became pretty significant because it completely destroyed the bearings. And that right there is where it got extremely dangerous, because the tire actually started to come off of the RV, which is what we noticed as we were leaving the RV park that day. And after pulling that tire off, we realized that the damage to the axle was way more significant than we thought it was. Now, if you're looking to do this by yourself, this is kind of the process that we went through. Step one was ordering the axle for the RV. And when I say by myself, I mean with the help of some local people here in Greenville. Good news is, all the information that you're gonna need to identify the axle you need should be on the sticker on the axle itself. The most important information you're gonna need to be able to order an axle is axle weight capacity, hub face distance, spring center distance, and make sure that it matches the bolt pattern of your lug nuts. All that and more will be listed on that tag on your original axle. Now for us, when it came to ordering the axle, our biggest issue was we don't like to be stationary for very long, so we were looking for a short lead time for the axle to arrive to us. So we went to a few different websites looking at RV parks and places that did have RV axles, but we ran into a lot of frustration because it turns out that our RV, our Kodiak Dutchman 2020 Ultimate, is actually a custom size when it comes to the axle. So what we ended up doing is calling Lippert, the axle manufacturer for this particular RV, and they actually have a custom size sitting right there in their warehouse that they could ship out within 5 days. Should we have gone that route right away? Yes. Why didn't we? Because we're impatient and that's our bad. After it was all said and done, placed the order, it actually took less than 2 weeks to arrive to us here in Greenville and cost us $1,100 right around with shipping. Today is a good day. The axle has arrived. Yes.
Nice. That's so smart.
Wayne, you are the man, sir. Thank you.
Man, he just nailed
You
that.
guys are a lot of fun. We really appreciate you being here.
Wow. This
And we're
is,
happy to help any way we can.
Wayne might be the coolest RV park owner on this planet.
Honestly, that's one so far at the very least. And let me tell you something, that man knows how to pick stuff up and put it down.
He does.
He was a very great help for us.
Yeah. So now the next step is the gentleman Michael that helped diagnose the original issue with our axle. We're gonna get him back here to the RV park and hopefully we can get this done right up at Wayne's shop.
Let's get on the road. What is this actually supposed to look like? Because I know it's not that, right?
Nope. It's so bent.
Ugh.
In terms of the actual setup of the axle, got the leaf springs and all that, and it's really 4 bolts and a couple of wires. Not too bad.
Good?
Yep. Come up a little more. Hope.
Ooh, might be just perfect.
It's close.
Axle's technically attached. Now we gotta get the wiring done and then his tires is next. If you are ever in the Greenville area, go see this man right here. Mike, he's gonna hook you up. Equipment Services, this is Mike, and we'll leave his information below for you. We got us a new axle, girl.
Let's go.
Last step is to get rid of the old axle. So we're gonna get to a scrap yard. Now again, we are super fortunate that Mike from Equipment Services was actually in the RV park when we discovered the original problem and was nice enough to come back and help us out. So if you're in the Greenville area, definitely hit him up. But Mike did deliver us some bad news while he was replacing the axle.
Small one there, little one here.
Yep.
Well, the biggest of the stress is right here where these brackets are.
We've got a little crack that needs to be welded right here.
And oh, it gets worse. It wasn't just one little crack. Turns out after doing an inspection around the entire RV, there was 4 cracks, each of them near the brace that holds the axle to the frame. If you've been in the RV game for a while, you know that a cracked frame is a really bad situation. And as far as we could tell after a lot of research, there's really only 2 options of recourse here. One is you get the insurance company to total the RV. After a little more research, we realized we didn't have enough damage for that and that welding was the only option for us. When it comes to a repair like this, you definitely want to make sure you get a good professional welder that's done this type of work before. Turns out that this is a pretty common problem for a lot of travel trailers. And that doesn't just apply to older travel trailers, because Cody right here is only 2.5 years old, but does have 30,000 miles on her. So a lot of use. Now again, we've been stationary for a long time and we're itching to get on the road and kind of made plans a little prematurely. So huge shout out to Dustin Farrell Welding, because he really worked with us on, I gave him a phone call and he was here within 48 hours to actually start working on the frame. Dustin just got finished up, and each one of these cracks is welded and repaired. Now, obviously not new, but does appear good as new, and some people might even make the argument that welding does make the frame a little bit stronger in those weak spots. I'm not a professional, so I'm not going to say one way or the other. We have, however, put it through a pretty rigorous test by taking it up to Asheville in the North Carolina mountains and back. So far, so good. Now here's some maintenance you should consider when it comes to both the RV axle and frame. When doing your tire pressure check before traveling, make sure to give your tires a little tug, and if they wiggle, you might need to actually look into replacing your bearings. A good idea to keep your bearings lubricated is on travel days, go ahead and spray some lithium grease on them. We just use the WD-40 white lithium grease. In here, you'll see a little black cap, and I found the easiest way to pop that off. It's just a little flathead screwdriver. Then you grab your white lithium grease, spray it in here, give it a little lube, and then just pop this piece right back in. Now when it comes to the frame of the RV, the welding spots we actually covered in Rust-Oleum. That's obviously gonna give it a little extra protection. This right here was a good tip from Dustin, our welder. He told us to take a picture of the welded spots. Now, every time we travel, we go and check those spots and compare it to the picture, and he tells you to make sure that the crack is not continuing out the ends. If it is, that means it's probably a bad weld. You're also gonna wanna inspect the frame often and look for those cracks, because the sooner you catch something like that, the better chances you are to have a safe welded repair. Okay, well, hopefully we got you some useful information when it comes to these pretty major RV repairs without ever having to step into an RV repair shop. We've made peace with it after 2.5 years, but you know what they say, owning an RV means fixing an RV. And if you're in the Greenville, North Carolina area and you're having similar issues, we will leave the information of the gentleman that helped us in the description below. And again, big thank you to Mike over at Equipment Services and Dustin with Farrell Welding. And of course, Wayne, the best RV park owner ever over here at Whispering Oaks RV Park. Really appreciate his assistance on things. I'm not gonna lie, it feels great to be back on the road and back to our regular travel-based content. We do actually really enjoy making these RV repair, maintenance type videos for the RV community out there. So if you did find it helpful, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, because we got new videos coming to you every single Sunday. We appreciate y'all tuning in, and of course, we'll see you, well, next Sunday.